I do want to read you this quote that I've been a little fixated on, and I want your opinion on this. In fairness to this show, this is not a new idea. We have been following Jim Montgomery since he was fired. I do like Jim Montgomery a lot personally. It is maybe clouding my view a little bit, so I want your opinion. This is Charlie Jacobs talking about the beginning of the season. I feel it was a bit disorganized. There was a real lack of structure. You see teams come through. They have a system. They have perhaps a fallback play, a breakout play, something. And when I watched the Boston Bruins start the season, it was just chaos. There was no organization. I had a difficult time understanding that given Monty's record. I don't know the answer that other than to say something changed. And at that point, you've shopped for the groceries. You've made the meal at this point. What are you going to do? Monty didn't necessarily have any answers. And at that point, we had to make a decision. Two things about that. I had a difficult time understanding that given Monty's record, that part, and Monty didn't necessarily have any answers. Interpret that for me.
I do believe that the feeling that they had was that Montgomery was not as engaged as they would have liked. Now, there are reasons for that. He was not happy with his contract negotiations. From my understanding, there was an offer that was pulled. He felt like he was being lowballed throughout the process. He wanted John Cooper money. The Bruins were not offering John Cooper money. And I think that there was an element from those from within that felt like he was not as committed as he was in years past.
Do you buy that? Because he seemed committed, at least demonstrative. He was very demonstrative. Do you buy that he was not as committed?
There were players that didn't feel like that they were getting the same Montgomery that they got perhaps in years past.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's how I'd put that. But I also think that. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
No. I would also say that then don't have him be a lame duck coach.
Right.
You got don't put him in that situation. That if you're worried about that or you think that you're going to have doubts about a guy's commitment or whatever, take care of him before then. This is where the Bruins sort of situation as a team that grinds down people that are in their system that they are negotiating with, this is where that comes back to hurt them. Look at the Marchand situation, the way that kind of unfolded, right? You wouldn't say that Marchand wasn't committed, but if you're negotiating with a team for months and months and months, and they're grinding you down, and they don't want to take care of you, you start to get that mental feeling of do these guys even want me here? Why am I doing this?
Well, it happened to Swayman too, and he didn't like the way that negotiation went. But here's the thing: is that obviously the players would, if they're feeling that way, they're the ones being affected. But here's what bugs me: is they felt the same way about Cassidy, and so if Cassidy was too mean, and then he goes off and wins his Stanley Cup the next year, and then Montgomery's not engaged enough, and then he goes out and takes a Blues team that arguably is worse than your team while healthy, and takes them into the playoffs, well, then no one's going to be satisfactory. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't think that's sports talky. I think it's a fair point.
No, I'd agree. But I also think that, even if Charlie feels that way, he can't say it. He can't say it on Wednesday after the team fell out of the picture entirely while the Blues went 24-3 out of the Four Nations break. You can't say it then. And this is the problem. If it always comes back to the coach, then let's just say that Don Sweeney and Cam Newley have a job for life. Because I don't think that Jim Montgomery is the difference between this team making the playoffs or not, because I think the roster was that bad. I do think the roster stunk. You needed scoring. You went out and you signed Nikita Zadorov for 6 years at $5 million per, which is fine, I guess, but it wasn't a need for you. The pressing need was scoring. They needed scoring. They didn't need a face masher or someone to go and fight Sam Bennett. As fun as that may be, and as much as I enjoy that, it wasn't a pressing need for this team. You looked at how they lost. It was because they didn't have enough scoring. The Panthers were able to key in on David Pastrnak and take him away. And once that happened, it was, okay, who on this team is going to beat us? And then they walk away from Jake DeBrusk. They walk away from Danton Heinen. They walk away from JVR. The latter two are not, high impact scorers, but you didn't replace them. That's why you stunk. Not because of Jim Montgomery not having the answers. You get and they talk about, the groceries been purchased. Yeah, but what if the groceries were rotten when you bought them?
Yeah, there's no debate that they screwed up the offseason. I mean, there's absolutely none. And what's scary about it is that you can't do anything now. So Lindholm was a mistake. That's inarguable. Lindholm was a mistake. Zadorov, whatever. Like you said, it's not a need. He's big, fine. And then you pray you didn't make a mistake choosing Swayman and giving him that deal. So, not only, Ty, did you not serve your team for what they needed, the pieces that you committed to aren't very good right now.
Right. That's the biggest. You look at this roster at the end of the year. I'm pretty sure the Bruins are one of 3 teams, I want to say, in the NHL that only had one player or less have over 60 points. And it was David Pastrnak. Like this is not a roster built to win by 2024-25 NHL standards. The Boston Bruins built a team built to win in 1998. They're like, oh, we're big and we forecheck hard. It's like, okay, well, you got to score a goal still, too. I believe they finished the year with, I want to say, 35 or 36 games where they maxed out at 2 goals or less. You're not going to win many games in 24-25 that way. The league is completely evolved beyond that, and the Bruins have to adapt to that, and they haven't. The Bruins are convinced that every star player has to be Patrice Bergeron, and that's great, but it also sort of diminishes what Bergeron was, that if you think that you can find Bergerons left and right and that's how you're going to win, you're not going to win. The game is changing, and you got to adapt with that. And the Bruins, it feels like, are woefully behind the rest of the league when it comes to having star power, having offensive talent, and identifying offensive talent.
So they want a guy who's a two-way player. They want a guy that maybe isn't the highest end scorer, but has no weaknesses in his game. Is what you're saying? They're not willing to go to an elite scorer whose job it is to put the puck in the net. Is what you're saying? Is that they want to they don't value that as much as they value someone who is effective all over the ice.
I believe that has been a massive problem for them.
Yeah,
is that
and Bergeron's a Hall of Famer, and
right.
You're like you said, you're not going to find him. Find guys who can score goals. They exist. So what's the 1 second, John? What's the recipe for the offseason then? What would you do this offseason?
Well, I would absolutely throw $14 million at Mitch Marner. I would, and I know that that's a lot of money, and it's gonna shock some people, but I think that you desperately need a reason for fans to get in your building again. There's no reason for anybody to. I mean,
careful.
I know.
Sean and Hardy might get on after you. Go. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
There is no reason for fans right now to pay the prices that the Bruins want their fans to pay. It is the second highest get-in in America behind MSG. And what are the reasons to go to the game right now? What is a reason to go to the game besides shipping up to Boston, which you can hear on Spotify, and drinking beers for $22? I mean, you need a reason to get people in your building. You need more star talent. You need more star power. And I think a guy like Mitch Marner is worth it for you. You look at sort of your roster as well. All your core pieces are locked up, right? Like Pastrnak, McAvoy, Lindholm, Swayman. Whether or not you believe that those are 4 pillars to build a true, cup contender is up for debate, of course. But you don't have a monster extension coming for any of your other players that you're worried about. So this is the time to go out and to make a big move, make a big splash. And a guy like Mitch Marner, it immediately props up whoever he's playing with on a line. It's another 90-point, 100-point kind of player. You need that right now. And so I would go out and get a legit star player. And I think that's where it has to begin for them. And I thought that letter that Charlie Jacobs had to the fans on Wednesday kind of alluded to they're going to spend some money and they're going to go out and they're going to get somebody big. And I think that's what they have to do right now, because it's what I said off the jump. They do not have enough star power and offensive weaponry to hang with pretty much anybody right now in the NHL, in my opinion. So that's where it would start for me if he hits market on July 1, which is always a bit of an unknown. That's not a guarantee that he's going to actually hit the market.
What do you know about the top of the draft, Ty? They, in theory, will have a top 5 pick.
Yeah, this draft is pretty interesting. I know there was a show that appeared on 2 to 6 that said it's a 2-player draft. I don't agree with that. Okay. If you're picking in the 5 or 6 range, which the Bruins should be doing, you should be able to get a pretty good center. It's if you drop down to 7, that's a little bit worrisome for them in terms of, if you can if you can remain in that 5 to 6 range, you're guaranteeing yourself one of Anton Frendel, Caleb Denoye, Porter Martone, who's a winger, I know, but like you should be able to get a high impact player as long as you are in that 5 to 6 range.
Before, why are you undercutting him? If Philadelphia wins tonight, you fourth worst record.
Yeah, basically. So if for those out there who are unaware, I wrote about this on the website, 985thesportshub.com. You basically want Philly to win tonight. Like
Yes.
if Philly wins, Fred, to your point, it locks you into the 4th best odds of winning the draft lottery. It's not a massive difference. I know it's 9.8, 9.5% versus 8.5, but it bumps you up a little bit. And the other part is that if you fall to 5, you're either picking 1, 2, 3 or 5, 6, 7. You can't move up to 4th overall. So locking into the 4th best odds would be ideal for this team because I think this is the only way that they are going to get that star center. Like a guy like Mitch Marner can hit the open market and become a free agent, but it feels like we keep hitching our wagons to like, okay, well, like Draisaitl could hit the market, Barkov could hit the market. Now we're looking at Jack Eichel. Like those guys don't hit the market, and so you got to draft and develop that high end center. And so the Bruins should have that opportunity if they are picking in that 5 to 6 range because they might not be superstars, but they're going to be high motor, high compete, 60, 75 point guys that will help you bridge the gap between yourself and Florida and Toronto right now down the middle.
Okay, well, good stuff, Ty Anderson. We appreciate it. Read him on the Sports Hub. He does a great job as we get into a very interesting offseason for the Bruins. Thanks, Ty. If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist.